My wife 35F and I 37M have been together for almost 6 years and have been married for almost 3 years. We have an awesome marriage. Something that neither of us thought was possible before. We both were married prior and had horrible divorces. When we met, we didn't want anything to do with the relationship, but it was really hard to deny the chemistry, so we did a FWB thing. The first night, we were very clear that this wasn't going to be a relationship, so don't catch feelings. She knew I was talking to and hanging out with other people, but she said that she went out with someone on a date and it was dumb and she hated dealing with people on the dating sites and basically made it seem like there was no one else and put it out there that she has only had sex with her ex-husband. I didn't believe her, but she insisted on it and made plenty of comparisons. We started hanging out more and we are both talkers and would tell each other all sorts of things and became really close really quickly. We were both very open with each other and are very much on the same page with honestly everything. Even the fact that we didn't want to be locked down in a relationship. We talked more about others here and there and she would always insist that she had never been with anyone besides her ex-husband and really insisted like she wasn't talking to anyone else. That first month we wouldn't talk too much during the day and due to kids, we wouldn't be able to hang out as much as we wanted, but we would hang out and have an amazing time and then go back to barely talking here and there. Mainly sending memes back and forth. I'm not stupid. I knew at the time that she was talking to other people, but when we would hang out and talk about it she would deny it completely. I assumed if she was being honest about not talking to anyone new and not hanging with anyone new, then she had to have been hanging out and hooking up with her ex-husband. My divorce had a lot of back and forth at the beginning where we would still hang out occasionally afterward, because she hadn't been divorced for very long. Just 2 to 3 months before we met. So obviously I could tell she was hanging out or talking to others, and I was hanging out with other women during that time as well. She is actually a very honest person and it's very clear to see that, especially when you have hung around some scumbags like I have. She is very genuine. The more we hung out and closer we grew, we would talk occasionally about it and she couldn't believe I thought she was hanging out with her ex-husband. She seemed blown away, but again insisted she had never been with anyone else and basically anyone she had met or talked to from these dating sites were gross. The times we wouldn't talk much were just her being by herself. She's kind of outdoorsy and loves to fish. A big thing that attracted me to her. At some point, I start believing that wow, maybe she hasn't been with anyone else and maybe she really was just hanging by herself. She is such a genuine person that I believed her, which is a feat, because my prior marriage was full of deceit and I really don't trust anyone because of prior relationships and my previous marriage, but I chose to believe her and we had something really special going on. So we get to where we are spending a lot of our free time together and I go ahead and block and delete and cut off all my women because I didn't want anything to mess this up. Yes, we were still FWB and no, we hadn't talked about anything different, and if we had, we would have said we will not date, even though by all standard accounts we were dating by then. We had been on trips, to concerts, countless dinners, nights out, staying over with each other 3 to 4 days a week or sometimes more. I had been divorced for almost 2 years when we met, so I had established a few FWBs and was keeping everything casual with all of them. All of them had issues. Some big, some small, but I always stayed out of everything because I wasn't dating them and I knew they were talking to and hanging out with other guys also, so I wasn't going to put myself out there to help them out of a bind. That's not what I was there for. I was just the guy to show them a good time when they wanted. That doesn't mean they didn't dump their drama on me hoping for a handout occasionally, but I am very good at being understanding while offering nothing. The difference with this was that she had me convinced that she wasn't even talking to anyone else. So I cut contact with all my others, and broke the rules and helped her with things. I helped her get a bank account, because her and her ex had messed up accounts and banks wouldn't let her open one without paying off the old one which she couldn't afford. I helped with money. I even gave advice on how to deal with her ex acting stupid when if it were any of the others, they wouldn't have even gotten that. But would I have done all this for someone that wasn't acting committed to me? Hell no. If I had known there were other dudes, then I wouldn't have thought twice about helping with any of it. Would have just sympathized and wished her luck. Fast forward, a few months later we become official and move in together. We have an amazing relationship that is better than anything I could have ever dreamed. Our life has been literally amazing. We have an amazing sex life, amazing life full of adventures. So, we eventually did what we both swore we would never do again and we got married. Had an amazing marriage all the way until this New Year's. I want to put it out here that every time throughout the years it has been brought up, she has sworn that I'm only the second person she has ever slept with. There is no one else. She didn't even come close with anyone else besides one date that the dude had an attitude and she just couldn't handle the dating life. I did feel like I shouldn't take her off the market so soon, and also I feel like if a woman doesn't have a hookup stage where she just hooks up with some people that she will eventually. Agree or not, that's actually been one of my rules because I've seen it so many times. It's the main reason most high school relationships end. At some point the woman feels like she missed out and starts longing for it. So I actually always had that in the back of my mind. Because I have completely trusted her, we have known each other's passwords on our phones, but we have never gone through them and believe that's a violation of trust. The end of December my wife started having some meltdowns and honestly I didn't know what was going on and tried to talk to her about it, but she chalked it up to drinking too much that night. But after 3 meltdowns in a week, I had a feeling something was going on. I didn't know what to do and wasn't getting anywhere with her, so I broke our unofficial phone rule and went through her phone trying to figure out what was going on. I know I'm an asshole for this, so if you're going to comment that I shouldn't have gone through her phone, you're wasting your time. When I went through her phone, I saw messages that showed she actually hooked up with a couple guys between me and her and husband. Don't know why she felt like she couldn't admit that, and then others while we were hooking up also. When I tell you this completely shattered my trust, you have no idea. She has thrown this lie out over the years over and over in multiple ways, usually without prompting from me that she never hooked up with anyone else. One guy she randomly hooked up with after at a concert, and I sent her our song the very next day. That definitely hurt. So I talked to her about it. She lies and says there was only one person. Then I confront with more evidence and she admits to the ones I've seen, but if you have ever been in this situation, it really means nothing at all when they only admit something when they know you have seen proof. So yeah, basically rocks my world and throws everything into question. How much does she lie to me? Am I just an idiot? If she carried this lie on for years, what else is she hiding? We talk, she swears that's it. I have trust issues and I know it, and I explain that she really just needs to come clean with me and be honest, because the worst thing she could do is tell me the real truth later. A specialty of my ex-wife and her constantly changing stories about everything. So many real truths after more evidence comes out. She says that's all. A week or two later, she feels bad or something and dumps more truths on me and tells me that she actually hooked up with 9 people, and besides the first 2, they were all at the same time as we were doing our thing. Okay, thank you for the honesty, but obviously a little rocking. I ask how she was meeting these people because it was kind of a short time frame, and she says friends of friends. I could tell she wasn't being honest and told her it doesn't really matter how, but tbh it bothered me more like this, because that would mean she was chatting up so many people at the same time as me. Anyways, I could tell that wasn't the truth but didn't push it. Another week or 2 goes by and she drops the final bomb, maybe, and says that she actually met most of these people on FetLife and she was just posting ads in groups looking for one-night stands where she could be a sub, and who knows what else, because she isn't exactly very open about that entirely. So, I was cool with it being dating sites, but this FetLife aspect really drove me into a tailspin because honestly, I can't believe it. She is very modest and I thought was kind of a prude. Don't get me wrong, she's wild AF in the bedroom, but I still am kind of shocked that she was just posting in a public forum looking for a hookup. FetLife, you also post pics of your body, which is kind of shocking as well, because even though she covered her face, I wouldn't have expected it. She sold me on this total opposite image of herself, acting like she didn't want to just hook up with people, but couldn't handle the dating world. Then she's on a fetish website openly posting who wants to come fuck me. I think most people would have their mind blown. The shittiest part of it all is that there was no reason for her to sell me this image of herself. There was no reason to lie. I was trying to act like I was being a player with plenty of women when we met because I had my own guards up about trying to stay out of a relationship. So it's wild to me that she felt like she needed to pretend this. Honestly, I would have been fine with everything, but I wouldn't have let myself start being too close so quickly, and I definitely wouldn't have felt the need to try to help her out in situations. I would have treated her like the others, at least for a while longer. I haven't handled this the best. It made me neurotic. It's fucked with me, a lot harder than she probably realizes, because I have been so worried about her this whole time that instead of letting her know how hard it's been on me, I spent most of the beginning trying to comfort her and let her know that none of that matters and she doesn't need to be ashamed, because she doesn't. I'm happy she lived life. I'm happy she got her hooking up out of the way, but I am having a very hard time dealing with the fact that she lied to me for so long and tried to sell me on this conservative image of her for so long. In the past, lies like this are hardly the only thing being hidden and lied about. There's always more. I do actually believe her that she was just embarrassed and doesn't even want to accept that she did those things herself, so she didn't want me to see her like that. But why lie about the two between me and her ex-husband? I totally understand not wanting to tell me about the FetLife people. The problem is because of my old issues in past relationships. It's made me dig deep and ask about dudes that were liking her pics back then. What's shitty is I know I don't care, but I can't help it. If I had known about other dudes, when we were getting more serious, I would have asked about these dudes liking her pic back then, just like she had done with me, but being 5 years later, it just seems ridiculous to her that I would be asking about it, and I have to admit, I do understand that. So part of my issue is her just selling me on a totally false start to our relationship, and because we have such an awesome and amazing marriage now, of course I'm not going to back out over this shit. So it's like my right to feel however I wanted to feel about it has been stolen, and I just have to accept it. It's kind of a mindfuck, to be honest. My wife has been somewhat understanding of how I feel, and also not understanding at all. I like to joke about things to ease the tension, and when she told me about the FetLife people, we talked quite a bit that night, and it was a good talk, and I was very understanding for her and told her it didn't change anything. Well, I didn't really know what FetLife was, so I looked it up the next day and was pretty blown away, but wasn't really going to say anything about it because honestly, it doesn't change the facts. But that night I made some joke about how she likes getting spanked or something like that. That's why she was on FetLife and she blew up for even mentioning it. I'm sorry, I don't feel like she is the one who gets to be upset about it. Mine was a pretty harmless joke. Wasn't disparaging or anything. Anyways, I'm only making this post because I would never talk to my family or friends about this. I would never want anyone to think less of her. She is truly amazing. The problem is I do have questions here and there, and I am trying to move past this, but when I finally ask anything, it gets pretty argumentative really quickly. I know it's something I can move past, but it would help if she would try to be a little understanding and not blow up over it. She acts like this will be something that will be brought up forever and everything is ruined, but the truth is it's not. But I also think I am entitled to not have to just be okay with being lied to the entire length of our relationship right away. That's honestly ridiculous to act like to me. How can I just trust you right away? It's tough.